to Education, Leadership, and Beyond, Surviving and Thriving. My name is Andrew Murata, host of the show, and it is show number 234, January 19th, 2023. Welcome to the show, everybody. Proud member of the Education Podcast Network, Voice Ed Radio Canada, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are tuning in. We appreciate your support. And live here on Facebook, I see we have a number of people watching. We got a big star on today. I know he's going to have a number of people tuning in. So we are excited to meet Phil Rossetti. Phil is from Maine. Phil is the Assistant Principal of the Year, not only in Maine, but also the NASSP Assistant Principal of the Year, Secondary School Principals. We got to meet Phil in Maine, and I'm excited to talk to him tonight. So welcome to show 234. Let's get rolling. I hope you are well. And if you are watching the show live, jump in, leave a question, leave a comment. Let me know how you know Phil. Leave us a review on the program and certainly get involved in the show. That's one of the aspects of Education, Leadership, and Beyond is that it is live and you can be part of the show. So jump in. And again, we'll meet Phil Rossetti here in a moment to welcome him to the show. A couple of things to get started. Today's sponsor, the World Education Summit. That is happening. Check that website out. Just Google World Education Summit 2023. And that is exactly what it is. It's a virtual conference from leaders all over the place. And I'm proud to be an ambassador. I'm proud to be part of that. And again, whether here in the United States or around the world, helping educators try to be their best selves, right? We have an award-winning assistant principal on today. We're going to learn from him. And you can do that by joining the World Education Summit. It is March 20 to 23. Listen to that. March 2023, 2023. So the dates are March 20th to 23 in 2023, which is pretty cool. I wonder if they did that on purpose. So, all right, let's get rolling. The opening concept here. So I was up in Maine. It was this fall. It was actually beautiful. The cold had not hit yet. We're going to ask Phil about the cold. And there was a lobster bake, right? When you're up in Maine, what do? You have some lobster. And, I'm an eater. I like food. I like different foods. The lobster's there, the shells on it. I don't really know how to do it. You got the clippers, the things, and I was laying there. It's got the claws. I'm like, and you sit next to the guy who knows what he's doing. I sat next to Matt Haney. Matt was a principal up in Maine. And he showed me, Andrew, you got to do this is the way you do it, boom, boom. And it went great. And I learned how to eat the lobster. I didn't cut myself. And I wrote a blog about it. And I'm sharing it today, right? As a leader, sit next to the person who knows what they're doing, right? They'll give you some tips to help guide you along the way. Phil's been doing this a long time. Let's bring him into the program because I want to sit next to him because he certainly knows what he's doing as an award-winning principal. Phil, welcome to the program, Education, Leadership, and Beyond.
Hey, how are you?
Good to see you, man. The live viewership is through the roof, Phil. You must have invited the whole state here.
Hey, I tried my best. I'm not great at the whole social media thing, but I'll push it out a little bit and hit a couple of shares. And probably it's all my family. We got a big family, big Italian family. So
big Italian family. Welcome to the program, Phil. Phil is an assistant principal, Windham High School in Maine. Phil, before we get to the big award and all of that stuff, give us an introduction. Who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself. We'll get to know you during the show, but give us an intro.
Yeah, so I'm a local boy. So I was born and raised in Maine, grew up in Casco, which is just a couple towns over from Windham, where I work now. It's kind of funny that growing up, I went to Lake Region High School, and Windham was one of our rivals. So it's kind of funny to be here. It's kind of like being a Red Sox fan and then switching over to the Yankees or vice versa.
Yeah, baby. Come on over.
I'm not going to do it. You can't convince me. Not going to happen. But for me, it's, growing up in Maine, I love being here, with the Lakes region area. So it's beautiful. We get all the summer tourists like you coming up and eat lobster, which is great. But my background and my family, my parents were a couple of people who, they didn't finish school. They were, they went their separate ways and worked hard, and education was not something in their priority as younger folks, but it became a priority for me and my brother. And so that become that was kind of a driving force for me. My parents were like, we're not going to be the same problems as we had, so push you into education. And for me, that was kind of got me going in my role in education and off to college and all those other good things.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Phil, we had a chance to meet. You came up, we connected, and man, what an honor. You're the NASSP Assistant Principal of the Year.
Well,
You are the Assistant Principal of Maine.
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, did I screw this up?
I'm a runner-up. So I was a finalist, didn't win it. So put it that way for the national.
Finalist, you're the winner in my heart, but you're the runner. Sorry if I screwed that up. But you were the winner in Maine.
Yes.
So tell me about that journey. I know you were recognized at NASSP as the Maine winner, but tell me about that journey and what that meant for you and your family.
Yeah, it was really a surprise. I mean, this is a job that we don't do for awards. I mean, this is something we do for out of passion, something that we love. I'm here to work for kids, my community, my staff. It's not an award thing. So my principal slyly nominated me for the award, and I kind of was funny we were sat in a meeting, and all of a sudden I see this email pop up. You've been nominated for Assistant Principal of the Year, and I looked at him and said,
Bam.
seriously, you did this? And he's chucking, he got a smile ear to ear. He's a humble guy too. He likes to fly under the radar like me, but so I graciously accepted that process. And for me, it was really eye opening because I'm someone who typically I'm a hard worker, I'm a grinder. I'm going to give you everything and try to figure out how to do things, but I never thought that it would be an award-winning kind of a situation. And for me, what it meant to me was an opportunity to kind of break out of my shell a little bit, to kind of embrace that moment, talk about the cool things going on in my school, my community, the cool stuff I try to do. And it was pretty great. And my family, it was a great honor to share that news with them. So, and then then on top of that, to be a national finalist, I was like, this is shocking. I was not expecting that. There's so many great people that do so many awesome things out there in the world. So, in the States.
And that's awesome to hear. Let's dig deeper a little bit, Phil. And again, I know you want to deflect the praise here, and I understand that, but there's some reasons why they nominated you. There's some real reasons that stand out. We have some people watching. Christine's jumping in here. Please jump in the show, introduce yourselves, and tell us about Phil, because I know he's a humble. But Phil, give me two or three things that you really feel that you stand for, that are some reasons that you were nominated and certainly winning this award.
Yeah, I think one of the big things for me is I've taken and been in this admin role for about, I think, 8 years now consistently. It's the opportunity for me and commitment to my community and to try and bring the community to the school. I think that's been kind of a really a driving force for me because, I had a stint, as I mentioned to you earlier, where I was 1 year in South Portland High School, which was that's a much bigger community with a lot of resources for students. Wyndham, we were a suburban community of Portland, and so we don't have all the resources. For me, it's been kind of trying to figure out what those resources are, trying to connect them to our kids, our community. And so that for me has been kind of a driving force. I think that's one of the big aspects for me is that essence of community. And like I said, I'm a local boy. I'm here. People know me. My wife won't go to the grocery store with me because it takes a half an hour trip becomes an hour and a half because people are talking to me. So my daughter's the same way. They both like, you go grocery shopping by yourself. So
like a celeb, man, you can't go out. You're getting hounded.
Yeah, exactly. And it's talking, and it's because I've been around for so long. I know I've got the kids of kids that I had as students, and which is great. I love that. But I think my commitment to my students, my staff, and my community is really what kind of drove them to recognize me for the work that I've done here at Wyndham.
And Phil, to have the small state of Maine, I know it's bigger, but the amount of people, right? To have Maine represented on the national stage as you as a finalist, what did that mean for your school community? Did they rally around you? Like, what did that look like and feel like?
Yeah, that was pretty amazing to become a finalist. I think it was really nice to get to that point because I'm the first person to ever have that happen from Maine, and so I got a lot of great emails from people across the whole state. Way to go, excited. Just really uplifting messages, and those things, as in this job, you can get beat down sometimes, and it's really nice to hear from others and say, pat you on the back a little bit. So for our community, it was really great recognition. Um, the funny story of the whole thing, and I'll go to this, is when you get this process, and it's a process to be the assistant principal of the year anyway. You go through a couple of panels, interviews, all that piece, and once you get the award for the state, you can go for this national award. So I put through the process, and you just send the material in. Well, Ron Nazoy, who's the president of the NASSP, I'm getting these weird phone calls from Hawaii, so I just kind of ignored them. This is some spam call. Finally, I'm like, this person's persistent. I answered it, and all it was a Friday afternoon. I want to get home, spend some time with my family. We picked up takeout that night. I'm like, I'm just out of work, mind. Hey, what's up? And what can I help you with? Hey, just want to let you know you're a finalist for National Assistant Principal. I'm like, I felt like a jerk. I told Ron, I'm sorry. I'm blowing you off, but
you got the wrong number.
Got the wrong number. But it was a great moment for me, and I drove home just thinking,
wow,
just my family, my mom and dad, just how proud they would be. So just cool stuff. So it was good. It really meant a lot for me personally, and I know for my community.
Beautiful. And I can feel the emotion in you. And Phil, there's a lot of administrators that watch this program. If you could bottle up three, right? I'm going to put these three characteristics, these three strategies, these three things in a bottle and give it to other administrators. What would those be?
Oof. Be tough to get three, but I think the big thing for me is
you're an award winner. I'll give you a few more. You're an Italian. Throw a few more ingredients in.
Just throw it all in there, right? It comes out. It's a great sauce. I think the first thing for me, you got to be a great listener. You gotta just take the time to listen to people, give them space to, to share what's going on in their mind, and then to kind of just process with them, what happened. How can you help them? Because you need to hear from folks. You need to let them kind of have their voice, and then from there help support them with what their needs are. And then ultimately, how does that help either a student or a staff member or other people in the building? I think for us that's a big piece. Being a great listener. I think another thing is don't be afraid of criticism. I've said this before, embrace the suck, because it's going to suck sometimes, and you have to embrace that moment and don't be afraid of the criticism. And, that kind of goes back to the same thing. Remember that you don't know what that other person's day has been. So they might come at you angry about a situation, something that's happened to it could be a parent or a kid. You just don't know what their day has been. Have they gotten breakfast? Have a mom and dad going through a divorce, or whatever the situations are? You just don't know those things that are going on in their life. So you have to really just kind of take a step back. And then, when you make decisions, you have to be able to live with that and feel like you're making the decision that's best for either your students, your staff, your school. And so embrace those moments that you're going to get criticism, be reflective about it. The last thing for me about, what makes you a good administrator, I think you got to find something that brings you joy in this job. If you can't find something that brings you joy in this job, you are going to be very miserable. And that's been my experience. And that may not be the same with others. For me, a couple of my good friends, I've seen her in the chat here. You always talk about fill your cup up. You got to find something to fill your cup up. If not, it's going to go dry, and so will you. And so you have to figure out what is going to be that positive thing for you that will help motivate you to come to work every day. Because it can be a very isolating job. It can be, like I said, there's a lot of criticism with what you do. And you just have to be able to find joy in that. And for me, we'll talk about this, I think, a little later on too, but for me, finding joy is, I working with kids, working with clubs and activities. And then it's also, for me, coaching football. That's another another joy that, in my life.
Great answer, Phil. I loved it. Listen, don't be afraid of criticism and the things that bring you joy. That's a great answer.
Thank you.
I'm sensing a book one day here.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's get you started. Phil, I opened with a story about Matt Haney sitting next to him with the lobster. I had no idea how to go about the thing. I've seen the tales where it's just laying there and you can eat it.
Yeah.
I was like, what the, and I didn't want to embarrass myself. I didn't want to hurt myself. And he took me under his wing. He showed me how to do it. Who is a person for you who showed you how to do it? And whether that's football, whether that's family, whether that's being an AP, who is that person for you?
Yeah, so there's a couple people, and I think back to when I started teaching. So I started off teaching. I was a social studies teacher, brand new green guy, and I had the craziest, mentor, Terry Christie, who, I still call him once a week. We still check in. I think about you and the hotline, and those connections. That's for me that's my hotline. I check in with him once a week, say how things are going, try to connect. It's sometimes not as often as I'd like, but it, for him, he was the person that showed me that teaching can be a great time. You can have a lot of fun with kids and teach them in a way that's entertaining, in a way that they actually learn something and retain the information. So for me, that was a great mentor. And another mentor for me in terms of the administration part was Deb McAfee. She was a longtime principal here, assistant principal. And so for me, I was a new guy. I started teaching in February '96 is when I started teaching here. And so she came on in 1998 as a brand new principal. And I was kind of struggling as a teacher because school was not a great place to be. The culture wasn't great. Kids were very challenging. It was just her to come in. It was kind of like a clean slate of some fresh air. And I gave it another year. So maybe we'll see how this goes. And for her to come in and to lift up other people, change the culture in the community, it was a great place to be. In 2001, we had our assistant principal leave, in August, and she came to me and said, I think this is something you can do. I said, okay, I'm interested in this. I was 28 years old,
Wow.
Didn't really know what the heck I was doing. But she lifted me up, and I said, all right, well, let's try this. And, I did it for that year. And then I decided to walk away. I wasn't ready to commit for the next, 35 years of my career in administration at that point. And so I walked away from it and then dabbled in it over time. And then finally for me, it was, talking with her a lot about, I'm ready to make this jump. For me, it was about 14 years after that. I think I'm ready now to commit to this. I need something different. I want to work with kids who are struggling in school. I want to help support them and help them find their way. And she said, you should do that. Go seek that out. And so that's where I sought that out and ended up in South Portland. And then there was a opening here, came back to Wyndham, which was great. Worked alongside her until she retired a few years later. But she's she was somebody who I marveled at her ability to make everybody feel important, to give everybody an opportunity to have a voice. And then she was at everything. Like I couldn't compete with her. She's at every track meet, swim meet, at everything. Like I can't,
Wow.
Couldn't compete with it. And so she was involved in the community in all kinds of ways. And so we unfortunately lost her about a year ago. And so, but she was just such a great person, such a giving person to so many. She never forgot a person's birthday. Just those kind of connections that you make as a leader. And so those are the things that we do. We just recognized her. She started a soup day here at the school. And so we just honored her just this week with our staff and had our soup day. So,
oh, wow.
So some cool things. So those are the people for me, Terry Christie, Deb McAfee, that were two people who kind of took me under their wing, helped guide me, helped me find my way in my career. And I try to honor them every day in what I do.
Yeah, well, and it's certainly working out, winning this award. A lot of people tuning in here. Vanessa is here. Kim is here, writing really nice things about you. Keep jumping in the comments there. Phil, you're a football guy. When the Super Bowl, they win the Super Bowl, that people are looking at the assistant coaches to be head coaches next. Is this something that's in the cards for you? Are you looking to be a principal? What does that next step look like for you?
That's a great question. I don't, I'll never say never, but it's not something I'm seeking out at this time. For me, I really enjoy my job. I have a tremendous principal. He's unbelievable. I have another assistant principal, Vanessa, who's been in the chat. She's awesome. So we have just such a great team that I couldn't see ever wanting to go anywhere else. It's just work is hilarious at times. I mean, I love usually it's about a 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock kind of debrief with a lot of laughter and a lot of what the heck are we going to do tomorrow or whatever the situations are. But for me, I don't know. I mean, I considered it a few years back when our principal then left to be an assistant superintendent. I'm like, all right, if we don't get a quality candidate, then I might just say I'll do it. But fortunately, we got a good quality, a great candidate, I should say, and now he's our principal. And so I don't know. Maybe in a few years down the road, my daughter is in 6th grade. She's going to be entering high school in a couple of years. She may want me to get the heck out of here. So we live in district here, so she may push me out the door to another place. But I don't. It depends. It's got to be the right opportunity. I love what I do.
I'm hoping your daughter Maria jumps in the chat here. I know she's watching. Your wife Sarah.
Yeah.
Certainly your family support there. Maria, if you're watching, jump in the chat here and tell us something your father's not going to mention on the thing here, so we can get the magic behind the curtain. Give us some inside information, Maria. I'm counting on you.
Gosh, it could be dangerous.
It could be dangerous. Might lose the show license here, Phil. We'll see how it goes. Right. Phil, as a leader, right? We're always envisioning ahead. What's a goal? What's a goal, whether it's professional or personal, here in 2023 for you?
For me, I think it's finding or being consistent. I thought about this a little bit, just in kind of thinking through some goals this year, and when it comes down to the different things I'm trying to do, like I'm like most of America trying to get exercise and try to get some a better routine going. So when I thought about this, as I started to plan in my mind, it's like, all right, well, it's about consistency. I've got to come up with develop a plan to be consistent in what I do. So I've tried to streamline the routines, whether it be my personal stuff or my work stuff, to kind of be consistent in that, be a little more organized. So those are kind of my goals that I'm working on that will help me in my performance overall.
Yeah. And I know that was part of what, the presentation up there is about our health and doing those things outside of school that keep us on track. Well, good luck with that. I know it can be hard. I know you get pulled in a lot of directions, So how about things that help you sharpen your saw? Some of the comments in the chat about looking for new ways to support students, things you're doing at the school, innovative ideas. How do you do that, being there so long and just right, the grind, as you said, I'm a grinder. Well, how do you keep coming up with new ideas and keep yourself fresh?
I think it's reflection. I really do. I mean, you have to, if you're going to, reflection and rethinking kind of what you do. The discipline model, I'll use that as an easy example. Giving detentions, suspending kids, those things, they're not productive. It's kind of a challenging thing. Pet peeve of mine is people who think about, that I can discipline somebody to do better, and that doesn't work anymore. And I don't know if it ever worked, to be honest with you. So I think for me, it's been kind of thinking about how do we work with kids differently. Kids have baggage, they have challenges just like adults do. I think it's just, for me, it's working with people to think about, the first comment to a kid in the morning. Like, people see me walking around in the morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, how you doing? High five and fist bumping at times, just checking in with people. It's not, I want it to be a positive interaction, at least the first time, before we have to talk about something that might be more challenging. And so I think taking the time to reflect on your practice. And I'm not a journaler. I know some people like to journal and do those things. I'm more of a, sit down and, that drive home, process what's going on, talk to some people to kind of reflect about things and ask people. I mean, I love to sit down, like the AP conference where you were at, Andrew. That's like a time for me to connect with so many people from across the state and just pick brains. I had a former student of mine who's now an assistant principal in Caribou, Maine, way up there, down east. And he called me up the other day and just said, I got to ask you, what are you doing about students and vaping? And so we just having that network of people to just kind of bounce ideas off each other is so important. And I think it's important for other people to find those people you can lean on. And a lot of those people are in the chat right now. I see you putting stuff in there. And those are some, that network of people that, things aren't going well. You can call them up and say, I'm struggling with students. And it's okay to say you're struggling. That's the people. Oh, yeah. People just don't, some people don't want to do that. Don't want to admit that they're having a hard time.
Surviving and thriving is real, Phil.
It is real. I mean, there's nothing a better description for our job than that. It is that. And I think, it's, you got to work with kids. You got to build relationships. You got to do those things. And it takes time to do that. You have to be willing to put the time in.
Yeah. So, and what a nice comment Kim Bennett wrote here. Phil is able to hold students accountable while maintaining incredible, strong relationships. Students know he cares for them and understand that he's holding them accountable because he cares. That's an amazing statement there. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah, thank you.
Phil, I see some football helmets behind you. I know football is a big part of your life, the coaching. But when I asked you about some regrets, right? What is something that maybe, and you talked about not pursuing football in college.
Yeah.
Tell me about that decision. Tell me about that story.
Well, it kind of, football was a thing I was always kind of destined to play. I did like youth soccer 1 year, and it was not my jam. The ball came to me, I just kicked it the other direction. I wanted to hit people, I guess, probably way to put it. And I think, and I talk to kids a lot about this. Like growing up as a kid, I had a lot of, there's a lot of stuff going on with my family, and athletics and in football in particular became a great outlet for me. So it allowed me to be like, something rough is going on, whether it be school, home, whatever. I'm going to go out on the football field. I'm going to be able to knock the snot out of somebody and, kind of get that aggression out in a legal way versus a fight or something foolish like that. So it was a huge part of me. And as time went on, I really enjoyed it. In my senior year, I got hurt, wasn't able to play, had an opportunity in college to kind of start to pursue that and walk on, and I chose not to. And I think back on those times, and I would work out with the guys, I would do all those workouts with them, and I just never pulled the trigger. I was too distracted by other things, and that's the big regret for me is I didn't take that chance. And so for now, it's like I want to take chances and take some good risks, and that's kind of going through this process to be an assistant principal. Yeah, it's like I'm a in the shadows kind of guy. I work hard and just do my job, but I'm like, this is a risk for me to take. It's a good risk to take, and it's something that I should do and take that chance. And that's kind of for me back in college, had that opportunity at Plymouth State and just begrudgingly didn't do it. And now I look back and I say, that's something I tell people, if you think you want to do it, do it. Just go ahead, give it a shot. You want to try out for the school play, for the lead, do it. What do you got to lose? And don't be afraid of what other people think, and just take those risks. And so for me, that's, one of those things I didn't do, and I kicked myself for it even today.
Well, and hopefully you're helping other people, right? In that. But you're coaching football now as an assistant principal. Can you still coach?
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. I coached. So we started football here in 1998. So me and another gentleman, Kevin Millington, who's a teacher here at the high school. So we both taught together. We both started football together. And so, I have a picture of the very first team up on my wall here because I just think the impact that had, because it really united a group of kids together. It was the island of misfit toys is what the guys were. And it was all walks of life. And, kids that had never chatted with each other now were part of something. And I think about that camaraderie that was developed. I still talk to half those guys today. I have a lot of their kids now in school.
That's an easy phone call. Yo, Jimmy, take care of this. Mike, take care of that guy.
It is. So it's funny. And so for me, So I coached right through, and that was one of the things when I decided to leave to go be an assistant principal. I was like, man, that's not honestly was the hardest thing to do, was to give up coaching. And so I gave it up for a year, and then when I came back to Wyndham, there was a situation that allowed me to come back, or to be offered to come back. And I asked my principal and my superintendent, I said, what do you think? I said, my job is priority number one. My commitment to them is, one practice a week and game nights, which I'd be at anyway. And they were like, yeah, if you can manage it, we'd love to have you do it. I think it'd be great. So I've been so fortunate, so blessed, because when I talk to my colleagues around the state, they're like, how do you pull that off? How are you allowed to do that? I can't believe that's
cool.
the way. And I'm like, well, I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate now too, where I'm more of a consultant in my role. I spend more time. I help the head coach, Matt Perkins, phenomenal coach, and shout out to him. He just got his 100th win this year.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. So we've been, two peas in a pod since he took over. And so now I help him out with defensive practices. And for me, it's just a huge connection with kids in a different way. They get to see me as a little bit crazier than what I would be in school. When Panama's blasting over the loudspeakers and I'm playing air guitar and warm-ups, it's a little different, Mr. Rossetti, than they'd see in the lunchroom. And so we have a good connection, and it allows me to really talk to them about things outside of school, whether it be their jobs or, hey, have you making sure you're working out? What's your plans for school beyond, So it's really been an awesome allowance that my district, provides me.
Well, you go back to how you answered about, the question about how to be an award-winning assistant principal. Do the things that bring you joy, and that's one of them for you. And kudos to you for recognizing that, and certainly your wife for allowing you to do that too.
That was
good for you, man.
That was a funny conversation. When that happened, I came home. I said to her, "Hey, there's a chance that I could coach a little football." She goes, I figured, great, but it was, she knows, and she's been, God bless her, my daughter, they've been just allowing me to be away pretty much every Friday night, every fall for 12 years. My daughter's been 11, so.
That's awesome, Phil, and for your district for allowing that. And I mean, that's a win-win to have the assistant principal helping lead all those young men, being a role model for the cheerleaders, all those kids involved. Phil, we're coming up to the 2-minute warning before we get to that stop clock. What is something that I did not ask you that you want to mention here on the show?
I think for me, the only thing I can think of is that, I hope people recognize that we can learn a lot from students. And I hope they're open to hearing students. They teach me so much, whether it be how to do TikToks in the hallway, or just, how to communicate with people. So I'm hoping that people can take the time to listen to the students that they work with, or any young person, and just kind of, don't blow them off. Really take the information that they're providing you. How can that help you in your job and your relationship with them, whether it be your son or daughter, or whoever it may be. But for me, I learned so much from students about how to be a professional, how to be a leader, how to work with people. And it was just this week, we have a principals of leadership class. I sat down, and it's a class I started a few years back, before I shifted off into AP world. And so it's cool to see their presentations about who they are as leaders, who they aspire to be, who their role models are. And it's just such a cool thing to hear them talk about, whether it be coaches or mom or dad or somebody in the community that they have made these connections with. So I think for us, if we can listen to the kids and the students, it's going to only make us better people and better leaders.
I love it. I hope they show this episode of Education Leadership Beyond a little maybe on a snow day or something. But That's cool, Phil. Yeah, cool. All right, Phil, let's roll. This is rapid fire. This is us coming down the stretch. You're getting the ball first down on the 3-yard line. You got to go 97 yards, and we're under 2 minutes. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Throw it deep, baby. Last book you read?
My daughter will laugh at me because I don't read a ton of books, but this summer when I go on vacation, I read. So I really like Lee Child. I like Jack Reacher novels. So Past Tense was the one I read most recently.
There you go. Last movie you saw?
Just finished it this morning on treadmill. Glass Onion, the Knives Out movie.
Yeah, yeah. It was that guy.
Yep.
Yo, my kids like that.
Yeah.
Favorite dish?
Oh, hands down, my mother's lasagna.
Forget about it.
It's unbelievable. It is the best, and Christmas dinner. It's like I can't wait for it. I'm salivate thinking about it just to get that. It's unbelievable.
Who's the favorite in your home? The Red Sox or the Patriots?
Oh, oh, that's a tough one.
I wasn't on the list.
No, I know you got me on that one. Oh man, boy, depends on the season, I guess. For me, right now, I'm shifted to the Red Sox. I'm not feeling great about them though, but
It's time to turn it.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick is fill in the blank.
Oh, someone I admire and would love to pick his brain and sit down with him.
I hear a lot about the library.
Yeah.
You know, I got a shout out from Kim Bennett about her lasagna too, Phil. You left her out.
There's a story there, Andrew. I don't know if we have time for it. There's a story.
Are you still a Tom Brady fan, or is Tampa Bay and Tom out?
I'm a Tom Brady fan. I mean, things happen for a reason. He did his thing, so I can't.
You left Wyndham for a year. I mean, Tom left.
You got to maybe he'll come back. You never know. He's a free agent, so
you never know.
Yeah.
I see you have 3 layers on tonight here on January 19th. What's the best cold hack you have for living in Maine?
Remote car starter.
Ooh,
that's the best for me. I've never had a vehicle with that before till my truck I bought a couple years ago, and it's like this is the best thing I've ever had.
You're big time. You're assistant principal of the year now. You got to have a stuff car.
Yeah.
The best APs are the best because fill in the blank.
Oh, I guess they care about their students. I think for me that's the biggest part. They're the best APs because they really care about their students and want what's best for them. And I always say this to my students: school is not one size fits all. It's built to fit most people. Most people can get through it. They can survive and thrive, but others, it's not. And so for me, my job, I take great pride in trying to work with them to find the best pathway for them to find success.
Nice slip in of survive, thrive there, Phil. I like that. Journal or blog you subscribe to?
I love the Daily Coach. Mike Lombardi, great author, great, just a former GM and all this stuff. I really enjoy it because it really helps center me in my leadership. I love that every day. I kind of try to read that before I start my day to kind of help me focus in on, some priorities and kind of pick up some things along the way.
You shared a lot of passions today, a lot of positivity. What's something that bothers you, something that gets under your skin, a pet peeve?
Oh, man. I think it's really people who are quick to point the finger at other people. Another mentor, Mike Haley, former football coach, he'd always say, when you point the finger at somebody else, you got 3 more pointing back at you. And exactly. And so for me, that's the, people who won't own when they make mistakes. We talk about it living above the line a lot here. And, people are going to make mistakes. It's what you do afterwards that matters. That's the key thing for me. That's your integrity. And if you can't own a mistake, I make them all the time. I tell people I'm sorry. So you got to own them.
Good answer. Is knock the snot out of you a New England term?
Maybe. I'm not sure. It's one of my old coach Hamity would talk about that, knock the snot out of somebody. So
yeah, you gotta put the emphasis on snot in the New England accent. That's there. Right. Best purchase under $100 that has had a great impact on your life.
Oh man, it's my cheap little AirPods. So that has really changed how I can operate. So
you're big time with the AirPods, man. You're fancy.
Yeah, they're not that fancy. They're knockoffs.
Best takeaway from this show today that people can walk away with?
I'd say find joy in what you do.
Yeah.
Do great. Things that make you happy. If you're not happy, go seek out those things that make you feel better about yourself and about what you do.
I heard a great quote once that people aren't tired because they're doing too much. People are tired because they're not doing the things that bring them joy, as you said. So that was a great answer. One thing you're curious about?
Kind of goes back to Bill Belichick, I guess. I think I'd love to. I'm curious about what an NFL game plan looks like. What's that build up, and what does that leadership plan look like?
He should be reaching out to you, Phil. You're the assistant principal of the year. He could learn something from you.
Well, maybe I'll send him an email. Maybe we connect.
Yeah, I'm going to send Bill this show and say, yo, Belichick, you need to learn from Phil here. Yeah, maybe that'll work.
That'd be great. I'd love to sit down with him.
Something about Phil Rossetti that people don't know about.
You started to get a glimpse of it. I'm emotional. I will cry. So that's something that people. That's the Italian in me. The passion comes out. I'm emotional. Especially when I talk about things like my family, it gets me choked up because I'm so proud of my parents and who they have worked to become. And I adore them, and I'm so proud of them, and it's great.
I'm sure they're proud of you making an impact here. And I thought you were getting choked up here. And I said, oh, man, we're going to lose him early.
It gets me.
I love it. I love it. That's real passion. Phil, people want to contact you. People want to get in touch with you. What's the best way?
You've got my social stuff scrolling across the screen there. I think, but if you send me an email, prossetti@rsu14.org is probably the best way to get a hold of me really quickly. But I'm available anytime. Look up Wyndham High School, call me. I'm happy to help anybody who has any questions or wants to simply chat.
I love it. And your parents getting a shout out there, Philip and Linda. Good stuff. Phil, bring us home with a quote that you love.
So my mentor, Terry Christie, it's funny, when he retired, I took over his classroom, and another person's got that classroom now, and the quote's still up above the door, and it's, dawn always brings with it the hope of a new day. So for me, I always think about that. It's just, especially on my drive to work, it's get a beautiful sunset rolling into work in the morning here, and I always think about, all right, this is a rebirth, an opportunity, and so a lot of hope comes with that.
Hope is an acronym. Hold on. Possibilities exist. This is Phil Rossetti, everyone. Phil, it was a true honor to interview you and talk with you. I'm inspired by talking to you, and I wish you the best on your journey.
Thank you so much. I'm inspired by you, Andrew. Keep doing the great work here. I really love it.
Let's keep rolling, friends. If I could help you in any way, don't hesitate to reach out at Andrew Marotta 21 on Twitter. Again, check out the World Education Summit. It's a cool thing. It's amazing to connect with educators like Phil nationally. When it goes international, something like the World Education Summit, please check it out. It's happening this March, and just Google World Education Summit 2023. We're going to sign off here on show number 234. To our live audience, Christine, Kim, Vanessa, Phil, Christine, we appreciate you tuning in. Leave us some more comments and certainly spread the show. Going to sign off here on show number 234. Phil, keep rolling, my friend.
You too. Thank you, Andrew.
Way to represent Maine and NASSP. We're going to sign off, and let's get this back up here. This was Phil Rossetti, everyone, and Andrew Marotta signing off show number 234. Keep rolling, keep surviving and thriving, friends. Thank you.